Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, O'Leaf Lefebvre of metal band Insanity of Sorrow. They've got a brand new music video out for their song, Chant of Death, and they've got some wicked shows coming up in the near future. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about. And it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Today, we have the very awesome O'Leaf Lefebvre. Matty, you are kind of known to me, but in a different way. I saw you years ago out at shows.
Yeah.
And you would have been one of the youngest people in the bar back then. So yeah, we'll cover that, because if there is such a thing as a metal dynasty in Ottawa, perhaps the O'Leaf family has got the tabs on this here, because yeah, we're gonna get into that. So what we're gonna talk about today is all your musical projects, which is a lot. So I first saw you doing music. The first music I saw of yours, I think it's hip hop. Is that what you would classify it as?
Exactly. I guess you could classify it as rap, maybe trap. It's kind of a niche genre, I guess I could say, but yeah, hip hop englobes the genre perfectly.
And you're doing all those beats yourself, like the music that's you're doing?
Sometimes I would collaborate with other producers and we'd start off from scratch. And sometimes, yeah, I produce my own instrumentals, but it kind of depends on how I feel, basically. I don't have like a specific creation process. It just sort of happens.
And when did you start listening to this style of music, or when did you start thinking like, I'm gonna lay down something, I'm gonna do this?
That's kind of a good question. Because I didn't used to listen to rap when I was younger. I was more of a metalhead, a rock head, more of the same music my dad would listen to, I guess. But yes, I guess through high school I started picking up a bit more rap. It was more popular, and then it just became something I would listen to often.
I mean, I listened to like, I immediately knew what genre it was in. It's not my genre, but I immediately recognized it. Is it like kind of like Travis Scott? Is it kind of that?
Yeah, that's
In
kind of the trap-ish
Okay.
vibe there. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like, I was picking up on it, and I was like, this sounds like epic. Like everything about it I think is top notch
Thank you.
production wise. And so I mean, that's the first thing that attracts me, is like, besides a melody, which we'll get into as well, because I think you might be onto this melody thing as well. Um
Cool.
but yeah, the last hip hop song you put out, it was called XOXOXO.
Just EXO. That was just like the artwork to
Okay.
make it look cool. Kind of like
Yeah. And
kisses and bugs.
that just came out like 8 days ago or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a pretty cool track.
Thank you.
Was it? How long does it take you to like start that and get to the end of it?
Uh, it really depends. Some project I release, they're stuck in the vault for like 2 years, and then some I just make spontaneously, and I want to release them. There's not really a an organized schedule, I guess I could say. It's sort of when I want to release music, I release music, and that's how it is right now. Yeah.
Okay, and then the other project that we have to get into is it's a metal band. It's a four-piece metal band, and you guys say it's your own genre of
Yep.
metal, and it's called Insanity of Sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's completely different than your other project. You have these two
Yeah.
projects, and sonically and everything, they're just complete opposites in my opinion, but both done very, very well, in my opinion, again. But people should be checking out both projects. Tell me about how Insanity of Sorrow started.
Insanity of Sorrow stems from actually Nate, the lead singer. and guitarist. We used to play in another band called Betrayed back in high school, and so it sort of fell apart through time. Like the drummer left first, and the bassist. So we were sort of just stuck there playing guitar for fun after doing a few concerts, and then we stopped contacting each other during COVID.
Yeah.
And actually, it's quite funny. One day, I think it was after one of my dad's shows, Rockin' Engine. I'm not sure where, but it was like last year, basically. And Nate knocked on my door and just asked like if I wanted to jam, and I said, "All right, why not?" So I went over there, and there was Zach, our drummer, and we sort of just started jamming. I hadn't picked a guitar for like 4 years,
Wow.
and yeah, that I consider that like an epic moment where if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have picked up a guitar again. So
Where
I'm really
somebody reached out and that made it happen.
yeah yeah. Well, Nate reached out. Yeah
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Is that connection, and then all of a sudden there's a fire, and then there's a song, and then
yeah
it just keeps going. Well, that's really good to hear. So it was kind of like a revival of a high school thing from years gone by, but
yep
vitalized.
yeah. Most
Right.
of our compositions are like riffs from high school as well. I'm not gonna lie. We have a bunch of stuff that we prepared, but just we never came through with it. It just fell apart. But then
Uh,
we made it better. So
young musicians have always made the best music, begrudgingly to everyone else who is aging, of course. But I mean, if we look at it, the kids from high school bands who made it out and made big impacts on the world because of their attitude, and it's fresh, it's new, all these different things. So I think it's smart to use those high school riffs.
yeah,
I don't think it's an issue with that at all. Uh, Take me back in time to your beginning. You're from Gatineau. Were
I
you
don't know.
always from there?
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
Cool. And you have a brother, I believe, right?
Yes, little brother.
Right on. And you guys, how was it growing up in Gatineau?
Um, so growing up in Gatineau was, I'd say, I guess, pretty regular. It's it's like I like to call Gatineau the neighbor of Ottawa because there's not really much going on here actually, but it was sort of a normal upbringing. Um, you see, I got into music earlier than my brother did. Uh, my brother, he's always liked music, but he started picking up an instrument quite late, which is impressive considering his drum skills. but
Yeah,
uh, but yeah, so it was pretty much a regular, just normal come up, I guess. Nothing
cool.
too special in that area.
So, what year then do you remember your dad's music and his love of music beginning to influence you?
Honestly, I'd say like since forever.
Yeah,
Like
eh?
yeah, like I think I started picking up an instrument around like 4 or 5 years old. Started dancing as well. Yeah, took a couple
Cool.
of dancing classes. I'm not too much of a dancer now, but
I
yeah,
did dance too. I did dance too. So yeah, it's a lot
really.
of fun. Yeah, yeah. I did jazz, tap, ballet, and then African dance later on in college.
Oh,
So
nice,
yeah,
interesting.
I've done the dance classes. I think it does help you connect to music on a different level, and I do think it helped me as a front man to feel a song and present
True.
a song.
Yes,
Definitely, it's a different way of looking at it, but it's
build
it's
builds confidence for sure. So
yeah, and I mean that's another point. I mean, you're a ginger like myself, and so is your brother. But I mean, you guys are definitely like cooler than me, so I don't worry about you guys. And the reason I say that is because you do martial arts, don't you?
yes.
Are you like what do you take?
What do I take? What do you mean? Like
Like, are you what style martial arts? Sorry.
um Jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. Sort of boxed on the side a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty much the main martial arts I took when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I saw your music video, which you guys just released today, and it's
Yes.
very good. Everyone should
Thank you.
check that out. We're gonna get into that as well because I made lots of little points about that video. But
Awesome.
when I was watching it, I was like, oh, Mati is ripped, and he is not to be messed with. No, when I was like, oh, okay, he's different. He's a different type of ginger than me. He's the scarier variety who can, yeah. So that's good. I mean, I kind of dealt with some bullies growing up. Did you have to deal with any of that nonsense?
100%.
Okay,
Yes.
see there you go. You see, people pick on us because we're different,
Yep.
and
The
and
one
that's all
percent.
it is. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
Yes.
I said on another podcast, like in groups of friends, like if there's too many gingers, it gets weird. It's like, my mind just doesn't get this. There's too many of us around. But it's
Gingers have souls.
we do have souls. We do. This is gonna be a great short for YouTube. We do
Absolutely.
have souls. Damn it. And but yeah. So I just wanted to pick on you a little bit about that for fun.
It's actually funny. Sorry, because I I'm into martial arts and I watch a lot of Ultimate Fighting Championships, so UFC. I'm really into that. I'm a huge fan, and most of their most violent fighters are ginger. So there might be a correlation there. I'm not sure. Maybe we should do some more research.
It's true. We are pretty hot and fast in
Yes,
our yes, we have a temper, and I do believe that's true.
true.
And I don't think it's that we have like a higher pain threshold. I think we're more sensitive, so we're just more used to it. Like, we burn faster in the sun.
Mm,
I feel everything faster. My eyes feel it faster. Like it's a sensitivity. And I told my dentist and the other week, and she was like, "Are you gonna be okay?" And I was like, no, you need to be my therapist now too, as well. So I
that's
could
reassuring.
I know, right? Uh, so
It's funny.
you do the martial arts and you do the jujitsu. I had a friend growing up who did jujitsu. He did tearing jujitsu, and his dad, Norm Beauchamp, ran things out in Chesterville, and he was like an eighth Dan or something like that. And they would talk about being over in like they'd go compete in like sports jujitsu in like
Yep.
France and stuff like that when he was younger. And, people wanted to pick on Tyler sometimes, but they knew not to. They knew that was like he was just too nice of a guy. He never would have used it on them anyways, but they
Yeah,
knew like when they saw him at demos, it was like, "Oh, his calf is like a tree trunk. That's probably a bad idea." Uh,
it's the
but
nice
yeah,
guys. It's the quiet guys usually.
yeah. So, does the martial arts play a role in your music at all? Sometimes do you sing about it? Does it come out in your lyrics? Does it go hand in hand?
um, that's a really good question. I think there's more of a correlation with the martial arts I do and the rap music I make, because sometimes I'll make references in my bars. So I would write like some metaphors or other figures of speech that would like make a reference towards like UFC or jujitsu or fighting in general. So yes, but in metal, I'd say not as much. We dive into more, I guess, deeper subjects. I like to keep it simple when I rap. I think it's easier to absorb. I like the playfulness of it a little
Mm,
bit. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. The playfulness of it, cool,
Hmm.
very cool. And George St. Pierre is another example of one of those UFC guys who was bullied. And even when he started talking to the media in the very beginning, and the media tried to pick on him, and it
Yep.
was like after like a very short amount of time, the media was like, "Oh, we shouldn't pick on this guy. Like it's just he's gonna make us look very, very silly, very stupid, very fast." So like,
He's the goat.
I yeah, I agree. I agree. Like growing up, gosh, I thought he was awesome too, man. I remember all those fights and being
Yes.
very proud as a Canadian that there was a Canadian breaking through into that world at that time. There was a few others. I mean, I just he was doing it at that goat level.
Oh yes, 100%. He's the one that got me into like martial arts in general. I think like I would do martial arts. Well, I started when I was 4 years old. My dad got me into jujitsu, and the first UFC event I saw, I'm not sure of the number, but it was between George St. Pierre and Johnny Hendricks, and
Mm,
that was a really close fight. And the funny thing
yeah,
is, I was just a kid, so I couldn't really understand like the aspects of fighting, and I was rooting for the American. I was rooting for Johnny Hendricks.
he's a great fighter too, though. That's the thing. Like,
Absolutely,
there
but
were some guys in his division that were equally like scary dudes,
yeah,
man.
demons,
Yeah.
monsters. Yeah, he ran through them all and he avenged his losses. So I think that's super epic. Never popped for steroids, none of that. So
So when was your first band? When do you join your first band?
first band was my high school band. I mentioned Betrayed. Yeah, that's the first real band I went into. Like I did a couple of jam sessions with different people, but the really as a band, Betrayed is my first band, and it started in I think uh, 11th grade or 10th grade. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Cool. And I remember the high school bands. Like, I wasn't cool enough to be in bands in high school. Like, I was
Oh,
far away. I really wasn't. I was like, super nerd. And yeah, I wasn't ready yet for any of this.
I
But I
consider
remember,
myself a nerd as well. So
cool. Well,
common.
you're just a cooler nerd than I was. But like, I remember some of these bands from back then, and they were dang good. Like, they were very good. Again, like I said, high school bands not to be underrated. Like, there's
Hmm.
generally like a few of them in every high school that you should be aware of because they're pretty interesting and they're coming up with new stuff.
That's awesome.
So, and it's very cool that that band Betrayed, like you said, then that filters into the new band. It filters into this band now.
Yes.
And your first release was Conditional Love,
Hmm.
and it's 6 minutes, 22 seconds long. And which I want to get into because I do think it's worth being that long.
Yeah.
Some songs I find it's like, okay, enough. You've done this. I've heard it already now. You could have ended it at 3 minutes and 30 seconds like everyone else. But I'm going to tell you something. At about the halfway point of this song, it changes. All
Hmm.
of a sudden, out comes some guttural screams, and out comes soaring guitar that follows those guttural screams. And the beginning of it I found was kind of System of a Down. I found like the first half there was some parts of it that I felt like, oh, I've kind of heard this genre before. But then it goes, like I said, the second half, like woof. Um, and so
Yes.
tell me about that. Tell me about this song.
I really like this song because you'll get why with our future projects, but it's all over the place. It's really intense, and I think it's really interesting because we're really just a product of our environment and what we listen to. So basically, we just started off with a super cool riff and then built something crazy from that. So that riff idea was from Nate actually, and then it became humongous. Beat switch went from like, as you said, more System of a Downish to like more punk,
Yes.
and tempo switches. We like to make it different. We like to make it engaging, and as you said, not like just a rinse and repeat process of okay, well the chorus is coming in like a few bars, so we like to keep it
Well,
interesting.
that's a very fun song. Like, I very much so enjoyed my listen through with that. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, very cool song. People should check out Conditional Love. Then the second song that I checked out, but I checked this one out actually first, like a week or two or something ago, a while ago. And that was The Chant of Death. And that's, you released the music video for that one today?
Yes.
Okay. And The Chant of Death, I think, is a hit. But that's
Hmm.
because, in my opinion, because of the melody. So,
Catchy.
unlike, yeah, yeah, unlike many metal songs that people might think of off the top of their heads, I think that this has some pop sensibility to it. And
Yes.
maybe that's the way forward. Maybe that's the way that you guys, hey, who is that guy? It's hey, hey, we
Sorry.
haven't even gotten into to your part yet. I haven't gotten into your impact yet. And but I did mention that you're building a dynasty in metal
Well,
music here in Ottawa.
I'm trying, but I have nothing to do with their talent. It's all their work. I have nothing to do with that.
Hey, you're a good dad.
I mean,
I've heard dads say the exact opposite. I've seen them come in and say, "This is all me. I made this. This is all me." But I like
yeah,
that.
but if he fucks up, I mean, at least it's not my fault. That's the point. All
I
right,
think he's super talented, Steve. You're blessed. You're a blessed man. You're a lucky man.
I am lucky. I am lucky to have wonderful kids and a wonderful wife, and I'm lucky to do what I love to do. So, yeah. So sorry to burst in like this. See you guys. I have to make the supper.
Oh yeah. I want to eat like whenever I see pictures of your dad's food that he makes or your parents'
Yes.
garden. I'm always like, oh, I want to go there right now. I
Oh
want to go.
yes.
That food looks so good. That meat. Oh.
Absolutely. It is. It is. It's a passion. I mean, you really got to love it.
So the Chant of Death music video, where did you shoot that? Because we did music video, we did pictures in Gatineau, Tammy
Yes.
Sorry, like 7 years ago. And immediately your background brought me back to that because we had like a quarry in the back of our jam area. And that's where we decided to go do pictures. And I think it's such a
Nice.
great place to go because it's like mountainous and very rocky.
Gives
Uh,
like apocalypto vibes a little bit. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
really nice.
Tell me about making the music video. How did that come about?
Well, Nate directed the video. He had the idea of going to the barn. The barn, I'm not sure. It's in Ontario. I couldn't tell you where exactly, but I think it's in Ontario, maybe Quebec. But it's like 1 hour from here, and we just gone there. They usually like host marriages.
Uh,
I'm sure I could find the names. Uh,
yeah,
but
doesn't
yes,
matter.
yes. So the barn was really cool. Everything was pretty much well set up since they host a lot of events, so it was easy for us to kind of slide in there and start filming. And the quarry was, I think it's in the Val des Mots. Not sure how you would say that in English, but yeah,
No, Valdemar.
yeah,
I mean, I butcher it anyways, right? As soon as as soon as I try and touch it, I have no accent, and it ruins it. And I've known that since I was a little kid. You know, the teacher would be like, accent, that," and I'm like, I know. And if I
yes,
had one, it would sound good, wouldn't it? But I mean, anyway,
yes.
sorry.
I mean,
It's
same here. The same with French and English. But yeah, Val des Mots is like I think 10 minutes from here. I never knew that place existed, that quarry. So it was really new to me. And then we came there and it looked amazing. So we had to pinpoint our spots, and yeah, we shot from there, cool angles, and looked super sharp.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it looked great, sound great, excellent. And of
Yes.
course, I mean, your dad, I mean, Rocket Engine makes a lot of great music videos. Like I pride myself in being like, yeah, my band makes some of the best music videos and I'm super proud of all of them. But
Yes,
like
they're
every
amazing
time
though.
thank you. And every time Rocket Engine releases one, I'm like, and there's my counterpart. There's Steve. There they are, killing it again. Um, Always
Yes.
doing awesome videos as well. So I think that the influence is trickling down to you in the musical, in the knowledge, and all of that. But
Hmm.
you've made your own journey of this, which is what I found most interesting was when I saw you releasing stuff and it was hip hop, it was trap, or it was ever it was. I was like, oh, this is radically different
Hmm.
than Rockin' Engine, and yet I thought it was very good, very well done. And then now I listen to Insanity of Sorrow, and again I'm going, I don't think it sounds anything like Rockin' Engine. Like I don't, I it doesn't. Like they're completely different, and that again makes me happy because it's metal and it's metal, but it's like it's a boom, it's like a growth off of, like you were
Yes.
inspired by, and that's very cool. I really like seeing that.
Yes, like my dad, my dad and I have a lot of similar inspirations. I have to thank my dad for that. But we sort of are really inspired by Lamb of God, Killswitch Engage, Trivium. So more of like metalcore, I guess, groove metal. I'm a big Pantera fan, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really my roots. I've always listened to the same music, but I sort of branched out in my own way. Um, a bit like you mentioned, System of a Down. That's a huge inspiration for me. Avenged Sevenfold as well, as you might hear in some guitar harmonies in our music. So yes, I'm just really a product of what I listen to, and then I don't like. I was listening to your podcast with Rohan, and you guys were talking about reference tracks and influences. And when I make music, it's sort of like it just happens. So I play around with the guitar and then make a cool riff, and we build it from there.
Hey, that's amazing. I think there's many, many different ways to create or to paint or to do anything. Um,
Yes,
I think there's different ways to fix a car, but
but
there is I think there's different levels of mastery to everything too, right? Like
yep.
I think we go through phases and then we go through different phases of collaboration when we're ready. We go through different phases of doing it on our own. Um and then it's like how we challenge ourselves and which way we find is best to challenge ourselves. The way that I was talking about with Rohan, I think it's just a typical producer method. I don't think it's like anything crazy or like it's just like a typical thing that I think a lot of producers do when they're asked, "Hey, will you help write this style of a song?" They'll
Yes.
often say, "Well, show me kind of your idea of where you want this to fit. Like what two songs would you love it sandwiched between in rotation?" You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And then we get an idea of how it fits into that radio plan. And so that's
Yes.
the other thing about producers and genres and what's happening now is people are giving way less of a damn about radio. People are giving way less of a damn about whether they fit into this genre
Mm-hmm.
because before, if you didn't fit into the genre, you were never, ever, ever getting heard. And you
True.
were never, ever, ever going to get a rating or a review. You would just be considered out there. You know what I mean? I mean, there was people who found a way, Frank Zappa, but I mean, besides people like him who are like one in a bajillion, it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard for us to do that. But I can see it with you. I can see it with your what's your generation that you guys are giving less of a damn about whether it's this or that or this label. It just got to
Yes.
be good, right?
Exactly. That's sort of the it sort of comes back to being our own genre. I like the way we say that because it's kind of like how can you say this? It it makes you react, you know. So like you see this, you're like, you're not sure, and then you listen, and you can still like branch us out in our own respective genres. But at the end, it's good music, so that's all that matters, really. And when you were talking about to go back to the reference tracks, yes, that's really important since like I run my little studio here, and I get clients online on the regular, and sometimes I just send over stems or tracks and just say, "Oh, do your thing," but then I don't have any reference tracks, and it's hard to it's hard to kind of guess what the client wants. So I have to kind of pick his brain and find out what he actually wants it to sound like, so he can be satisfied, and I don't have to like do five revisions for for a track, right?
Are you talking about Fiverr, perhaps?
Um, yes. Well, I have an account on Fiverr, but mostly I get clients on SoundBetter. It tends to work
Oh, okay.
better for
Cool.
myself. Yeah.
Right on. I have a friend as well who does like the Fiverr producer thing. Well, the drummer from Taming Sorry, Taylor,
Yes.
and so he's the one who also he'll tell people will ask him and he'll say send me two references of what you want it to sound like, and also like some of the things he gets asked to make are so hilarious, like so like this one guy sent this sex song that was just like him like almost like mumbling like all this dirty shit, and I was like, how did you do this? And he's like,
Holy
well,
shit.
he paid me, so
That's how it is, really. That's the
yeah.
same for me. Yeah.
Right? And sometimes he's like, "Oh, this is a Chinese pop song I made," and I'll listen. I'll be like, "That sounds damn good." Like I don't understand any of it, but it sounds like a great Chinese pop song. And he's like, I didn't record the lyrics. They sent me that, and then I just made the music kind of
Yes.
around
Well,
it. And yeah,
I love that because it sort of shows like just the smartness as a musician, just to be able to take a bunch of different parts of a song and just make something nice out of it, even if you're unaware of like the context or what the person really wants. Like my last client told me, "Oh, I need a pop beat," but a pop beat is super vague, you know.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't tell me anything. So
What?
exactly. So I had to be like, "Oh, do you want something more like instrumental or something that sounds more digital?" Or so I sort
It's
of found out that way by questioning him. But that's important. It's important
yeah,
to be good
yeah.
at doing music in general when you work that way as well. Because
Well, it's like you want a pop beat. It's like, okay, well, Michael Jackson, King of Pop, he used a whole bunch of rock in his pop hits. And
yeah,
so it's like you can't really even think of it that way. And like
no,
now what pop is not what pop was like 20 years ago. Like
at
it's
all.
ever changing. So that's kind of funny.
I can't even
Uh,
like I couldn't even pinpoint what pop sounds like now because radio plays anything.
it's
So
it's right. I think it's getting confused as well. I do
yeah,
think that radio is not able to do what it used to do the same way anymore. Times are a changing, as
yeah,
Bob Dylan said. 60 or 70 years ago, or whatever the hell it was. It's still changing. It will keep changing.
100%.
Uh, and Bob again, as just talking about Bob quickly, like he didn't give a damn about genres. And when the record label tried to control him with genres, he was like, "Okay, I'm going to do a country album." And then after that, he was like, "Oh, you didn't like that? Well, let me do a this type of album and a this type." Until the record label was like, "Okay, fine, you're off the deal, you're out," because he
Wow.
wanted off the contract so bad, and
Yeah,
they were just wanting him to rewrite the same song over and over again. They're like, "Oh, keep doing "Blowing in the Wind." Come on, keep giving us that same song over and over again, Mr. Tambourine Man." And Bob's like, "No, I don't want to." And so he's like one of
yeah,
those geniuses who figured out a way around the labels like all those years ago. And what do you know? It had to do with genres. Genres is always kind of this thing in music, which it can be
yeah,
like a switch hitter coming in, and all of a sudden it changes the whole game.
yeah.
Uh,
It's hard for labels not to box you in a certain genre, and then they tell themselves like, if it doesn't break, don't fix it. So they they want you to make the same project over and over again.
yep,
But
yep,
it gets
market,
redundant. Like
yep,
as an artist, you can't do that. You
yep.
get tired.
No, exactly. It's a path to eventually fizzing out. So I mean, kudos to all the bands and artists who find out their ways to make steps forward into other things. Or, I mean, today with people like Post Malone, I mean, they don't give a damn about genre. See, again, that's
Yeah,
again the thing. Like he's doing a country hit song with Morgan Wallen, and and then before he was doing rap songs and like trap songs. Like it doesn't matter. He's a
that's crazy.
star and he produces hits. And so it's just the way the world has changed. It's very, very interesting with genres. But I think you're onto it. That's why I like you as a guest today, because you're doing these two different, wildly different styles of music, but I think at a very good level. You had Chris Bonavia of In Ire. He did your merch design.
Yes, our beautiful merch. Yes,
Okay, he's a
killed it.
really cool guy. I wanted to bring him up. I love In Ire. Those are some great guys in the Ottawa rock scene. People should always give In
Absolutely.
Ire their love. and I wanted to talk about um, some shows that you guys did. Most recently, you did one with Power Glove.
So we have a show scheduled with Power Glove,
Oh,
October 2nd. Yeah.
okay, that's coming up.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're doing that with Sovereign Council. So I'm gonna have Lisa come in. She's gonna be one of my guests,
Awesome.
and yeah, she's very cool. And
Super sweet.
Feed After Midnight, I got to get those guys in too. I don't think I have them booked yet, but I believe I played a show with them years ago, so I'd love to get them in.
The lineup
Um,
is super stacked. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yes, and like, what is Power Glove? I've seen them come through before, and like, what do you think about their music? Is it kind of theme based?
Yes, it's really interesting. I like their the style they go for. It's sort of like video game music where they make their own like remixes of songs of old like arcade songs and make it metal. It's really cool and they're really good. Y'all should check them out. Like to be honest, it's worth a try. It's really
It
nice.
remind It reminds me of Double Experience from Ottawa a little bit, and I have a great memory of playing with. They're not metal at all, but theme based music,
Okay.
and they do like nerd based music. And I have a great memory of playing at the Dom, the Dominion Tavern here in
Nice.
Ottawa, packing the crap out of the place, and it was us, Double Experience, and Rockin' Engine. And I remember uh, I don't think you were at that show. I don't think they were gonna let you guys in. I
I
don't.
don't think so.
Yeah, because that place was packed. Like the Dom is can get dirty, and
Yes.
that was such a fun night. Like we had pretty much three genres of music. Like we had the metal, we had the rock, we had this other type of rock that was kind of has more pop influence than us maybe, and like it's such a fun night. So what first show do you remember going to from Rockin' Engine? Your
Oh,
dad's band.
first show I remember was he did a show for the Army Run. I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
So it was like sort of I guess it was
outdoor.
yeah, outdoor event. And I remember being there. I was super young. I can't remember. Probably like I think I not even in high school yet. But yeah, it was an outdoor event, all ages, and that I think that was like when they released their first album, or even maybe before. It was quite a long time ago. Yeah, I don't even
Cool.
remember the other bands.
And do you remember like watching it and thinking like I want to get on stage. I'd like to do this too.
Yes, yes. I think that's funny because that event is like sort of the event where I remember the most like of the surroundings. Like I remember the stage, the sound guy. I was just really immersed in the environment, the show environment, and I think that that's sort of like um, I guess it's a reason why I'm so passionate for live music because I think it was my first show in general also. So
Well, Rockin' Engine has always had a lineup of powerful personalities. Being around those guys must have made an impact as well. Being around guys like JP, like guys who are like your dad, who are veterans of this industry, if you want to call it that,
yes,
earned their stripes. We'll put it that way. You know,
yeah,
they earned their 50 mission cap, as Gord Downey would say. And like, so I think that would make a pretty big impact. And Rocket Engine made
yeah.
an impact on me. All the times that I played with them, I'll tell you what Rocket Engine taught me from the beginning. Be prepared. Be prepared when you do a live show.
Hmm.
And I don't think I've ever seen a band more prepared than Rocket Engine. They're ready.
Yes.
They have everything ticked off, and it's like it's super professional. And what that does, folks, is it takes the stress away.
Yeah.
All it does is remove the stress of the event. And also, Rocket Engine, always great merch, always great
Yes.
designs, great merch. Um, that's another lesson I took from them. And always good to their fans. Not never worried about talking with people after a show. I can remember your dad and JP like standing on stage trying to pack up, and they've got like people coming up, talking to them, talking to them, talking to them, and that's fine. They love it, and I think
Yes.
I know they've passed this on to you. And that's why I'm saying it's like
Yes. My dad tells me the same every time we talk about the show that's coming up. He's like, be ready for the worst. Don't be ready for the best. Be ready for the worst.
I love it. I
And
love it.
then you come there prepared. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, that's a good mentality to have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Uh, so then your first show was Under the Influence and Bury the Past were the other bands, correct?
Yeah, we're playing on the 16th of August.
Okay. Wow. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. So that's going to be the first show.
Yes.
Whew. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, yeah, you got to be prepared. You got to be
Yes.
prepared. Okay. Okay.
It'll be
August 16th.
fantastic. Can't
Oh
wait.
my gosh. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. So do you know these bands, Under the Influence and Bury the Past?
Bury the Past. I've heard of them through Facebook because they've just started. It's going to be their first show as well. Under the Influence, I've heard of them. They've done quite a few shows, and I've listened to their music. They're really good. They give the show. That's what I like. But yes, it's going to be a hardcore night. A lot of mosh pits, I think. Yeah, we,
Absolutely.
we got a lot of juggernauts coming in the pit, so be prepared if you're coming over.
Gosh, yeah, get ready for your shiner. Get ready for that. Get ready for that black eye or whatever it might be. The pit was always a scary looking place to me, but I know
Yeah,
some people it's the best place in the world.
I love
So
it. I love the pit.
there- yeah. Uh, what? So going back in time again and thinking about influences, we talked about System of a Down. We talked about your dad's band, how that influenced you. We talked about Pantera.
Mm.
Um, Atreyu was one we talked about too, or Avenged Sevenfold.
Avenged, yes.
Avenged Sevenfold, that's it. And like, so was there any other bands through high school or that were really powerful to you?
Yes, actually, the band, before I got heavy into metal and like core genres and deep diving into metal, I was actually a Guns N' Roses fan.
Ah,
So
yeah,
I was a rock fan before being like a metalhead. So yeah,
yeah.
I'd say Guns N' Roses was like the gateway to metal. Yeah,
Everything. It's the
yeah,
gateway to everything, folks.
everything.
Appetite for Destruction will change your life, and if it
Yes,
doesn't, I question you.
love that
I
album.
question your soul because I remember the first time I heard Mr. Brownstone, and it was like
Yes,
shredding a piece of me off. I don't know. It was just amazing.
yes.
That album is perfection. So
Everybody had a phone in school. I had my little iPod, just iPod like music player, and I would download the whole album. And I remember like Night Train.
yeah.
There was always a moment in the song where it would like do a weird cutoff because it was illegally downloaded. But I still remember it to this day because I would play it on repeat in the bus. Yeah, I
See, and
love
like,
that album.
yeah, hell yeah. And like there's great stories involved in that in like the production side of things with Slash and everything. And like one thing I love is like for Sweet Child of Mine, he hates it so much. Everybody knows he hates
Yeah,
it. But what I like about the details of that story is that he had 9 solos recorded for that. 9
really. Eh?
solos. Yes, that the producer
Wow.
had in his pocket to pick from. And so Slash is mad because it's just one of the 9 that he didn't prefer. He was like, I actually like that one. I like solo number 4, but the producer and the record label was like, we like solo number 9. So that's what you're going to play for the rest of your life. And I think that kind of thing eats at people like him a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like as musicians, we love our freedom. And I think sometimes we forget like our heroes, they legit at times gave up some of that freedom so that they could be heard by the masses. And
Yes.
yeah, but that's one of those stories that I love it because it's like, oh yeah, that producer made him sit there and do 9 perfect different solos. And
Insane.
then when Yeah, that one. That's the perfect one. Whereas, like, it will take us, like, it takes my guitarist, a long time just to get one good solo.
Yep.
You watch you watch Kirk in Metallica with Bob Rock in those videos, like all those years ago, and it took him 3 months to get that solo out on one of
Yes.
those songs. So
Oh
yeah,
yes.
music is fun. There's many ways to skin a cat, although that's a horrible saying. There's many ways. There's many ways to do things, folks.
But really, yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and I think you should always trust your engineer
Yeah,
because,
you should trust your engineer and your
it,
producer. If you're
like,
paying them,
yeah, it's probably because they're right. I mean,
yeah,
they have a
yeah, well,
engineers or producers have an objective view of your music. It's not like they don't want to take control of your song, but it's like they're gonna tell you this sounds better than the other take.
that's
They're
right.
gonna keep it honest, so you should always listen to your engineer.
It's true. Your engineer is always gonna tell you about like sound quality, sound quality, recording, like all that stuff that like you really shouldn't argue about,
Yes.
or like recording onto the click or whatever it might be. Like,
Yeah.
right? There's many things I've had arguments with new musicians about, or tried to explain to them the benefits,
Oh
you
yes.
know, of certain things. And that's why it's a learning and a growing experience. And I don't know everything. I don't know close to it. I don't know close to anything.
Me neither.
But it's a growing thing, and like we show off what we learn as we go.
Yeah.
Um,
You even learn through your clients that know even less than you. So I mean, I'm always down to learn. That's what I love about music is that I'll never know everything. There's always something new, and there's always new theories and all of that. So I feel like a newborn to this industry, really. And I think I'll always feel that way because the more you know, the more you realize you don't know nothing. So, of
that's right. That's right. But you're enjoying it. I can tell much you love this, and that's the most important part of this. Is
course.
if you're loving it and your passion is coming through, and people around you are going, "Yeah, I can hear your passion. Like I can hear it. I can see it." You're in the right
Yes.
place. You're in the right place. Absolutely.
Can we go
So
back to what you said about Bob Rock
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Metallica? Were you talking? What album were you talking about? Where
Oh
he
gosh,
he spent 3 months recording a
it's
solo.
like the God. If you Google Bob Rock and Kirk like in the studio, I think you'll find it. Like it's the big album, like the main one that they became like huge off of. I'm so bad at this
The
name
Black
thing.
Album?
Maybe just a minute.
Because, anyways, I'm mentioning this because I
Yeah,
used when I was a kid, I used to play on repeat the documentary for Some Kind of Monster.
yeah.
Um,
I
yes,
think yeah.
awesome doc, and I really didn't understand anything when I was a kid, but I would just listen to the music, and I it's funny because it's one of their most hated albums, but I'd listen to it and I'd find it really interesting, and it was really nice to see the process of their music and how they got Trujillo in and everything. It's really amazing. And now when I look back at the doc today, I'm like, oh, those were like strong subjects, and it wasn't really uh, like a nice uh, production pattern, I guess you could say. It was really hectic
Yeah.
recording that album. Yeah,
Uh, See, at times they are so different. They're so interesting in how we try and capture lightning in a bottle. And at that point in time, I think it was a lot of like capturing these guys literally in a room together and keeping them in the same place for some amount of time and
yeah,
seeing what you could squeeze out of them. And you're riding through tension, you're riding through waves of confidence, riding through waves of lows in the studio. And Bob Rock, like you get into it, like he's produced Motley Crue and Aerosmith and Bon Jovi and Cher and David Lee Roth and Skid
hmm
Row. And people talk about like, oh, production and why you would want to do it versus having all the control yourself. And my answer is because what we just talked about, like the knowledge base and how long it takes us to gain knowledge and confidence in this business. Sometimes you need to reach out to that level of experience and that knowledge. And if you can afford it, that's the other thing, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
I know bands that work with Bob Rock. It's not cheap, but you know what? They know they're working with a legend, and they know that he is not going to settle for anything less than his standard.
Yep.
And man, that's attractive to an artist. That's attractive to me. To know that you'd have that. It's not a guarantee, but it's like the closest thing you're going to get to it. The closest thing
Yes.
you're going to get to a guarantee that your music is going to come out sounding solid and, something you can be proud of. Like, yeah, that's what it comes down to. So, watching him
Especially,
argue. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, my bad. Especially in well, the genre I specialize in, like trap, and the engineer does all the work. That's how that's all it
Yeah.
is. Like I heard one of your guests. I'm not sure about his name. I forgot, but he was like, rap is talentless.
Oh, Chris Gaines. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Chris
Yes,
doesn't like
yes,
rap. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Well,
I gave him
actually,
crap for it.
it, I get his point because most artists, well, most performers today, like they get carried by their engineer all the way, really, and you can't really. It's not worth dropping a penny to see them live because all you're getting to hear is like an MP3, just the same song you hear in your car, but in the concert area. So yeah,
Yeah.
well, I get his point. There's a lot less talent, I think, in rap
Well,
music.
I don't. You made the point. There's less room for things like a stage show. There's less room for things like that a band does, which is present this big performance, or even like what Eminem would do, which is present a massive performance with
Yes,
different people coming in to spotlight and different lighting designs, all these different things that go along with it. I mean, presentation is everything, and I think
mhm,
your dad as a cook would with his cooking would agree. It's got to look good if you're gonna bite into it and
100%.
enjoy it. And
I like that
so,
analogy.
oh yeah, you
Very
need
nice.
that because people will get into that as well in the entertainment business. They'll get down on it. They'll say, "Oh well, it's all about how you look." Well, it's not all about how you look. It's an important factor. I mean, look, Weird Al Yankovic never looked like The Rock, and that was never his thing. But he had a look, and it was
Yes.
memorable. And Howard Stern had a look, and it was memorable. And Carrot Top, I despise you, but it had a look, and
Yes.
like I wish Carrot Top had just worked the hell out. I wish she had just busted his ass instead of getting those implants in his arms, those inflatable balloons. Like,
Yeah.
way to ruin it for us gingers out here, just trying to make it day by day. He just tries to
Yes.
hack the system.
But really, I think live performances make up for 20% of an artist. Like I made my own like sort of chart of what you need to be a successful artist. Sort of so I can preach my own sayings because sometimes I say things to like my clients that I need to respect myself. Like tends to happen. You can't be perfect, but I'd say it's like a 20% of it is good music, 20% is live performances, another 20 is your branding,
Hmm.
and honestly like 40% got to be the promotion.
Right?
That's all it is
And
these days anyways.
I know.
Yeah.
You make a great point. Everything you said there, I agree with. The thing about promotion is like some people will say that's 80% of your budget. They'll
Yes.
say they'll say 20% of your budget is recording, music video, whatever, and the other part's promotion. The
Yep.
80%, that's all promotion. And you know,
Mm.
it's ridiculous, but in today's world, if you want to cut through, uh you kind of have to.
So many
It
bands, so many talents with different budgets. Attention spans are getting low. Algorithms are getting stricter, so it's really hard. Yes, it's
just like
harder, but it's easier at the same time. It's complicated, to be honest. You gotta get the system to kind of immerse yourself in the algorithm, but it's not easy. There's luck involved, and you got to try your best. You can't give up. Never.
well, no, that's the thing, and that's why bands like Rockin' Engine, like Taming Sorry, bands like Insanity of Sorrow do music videos
Hmm.
because we're raising the hype factor. We're going to try and cut through. We're going to try and show people that we care even more about our song than they thought possible.
Yes.
And maybe there's a way for them to connect on another level, on a visual level. And as artists, we have to be excited about that. It can't be something that upsets us. It has to excite us that we're in something where we're able to connect so many different pieces together.
Yes.
And to me, that's like the best part of it,
Well,
connecting the pieces.
you're right because, as you said, it's really like a mashup of all senses. Like it's visual, it's auditory, it's really everything. So yeah, I think it's really important to like be able to engage with your audience and show them that you really care. So you gotta always give content, but at the same time, they always, well, not they always, but people just consume content every day, like senselessly. It's
Yep.
just, it's normal. And even some bands you support, like local bands, or there's so much product that you have to look at that it's easy to go through and ignore like enormous talents. Like I always say, the best music is probably like never going to be listened to because they spent all their time making amazing music and not promoting it. So yes.
Yep. And all many of these channels, they just never get watched by people or they never get heard by people. Like a lot of people might never go that way to hear something. And that's why classic forms of promotion are still very important and viable, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Yes, do all the new stuff, do all the internet stuff and all the podcasts and all the other little things you can do. But also think about the classic because I mean, when I saw, my friends get up on the billboard in Toronto, like on the big screen on the main part, on Eaton Square or whatever,
Very
that's a big
nice.
deal. That because it doesn't matter about all those people walking, they're all walks of life. They have all different types of algorithms, but guess what? The algorithm they're on that moment is in the street looking at a giant sign.
Yes.
So classic promotion still viable. It's
Hmm.
just that you can't only depend on that anymore. You've
You
got to
gotta,
be looking so many ways.
yes, you gotta keep it organic. Well, it's kind of, you have to find the best of both worlds, really. A nice balance. That's all you need. It's balance. Really.
Are you guys going to come out with some live performance videos, or do you have some already that I just missed?
We haven't released any live performances yet, but yes, it's in our plans. So
Good,
expect
good.
expect something to come out after our show on the 16th. Yeah.
I believe you'll get something out of it. I think there's always something to doing live performance videos. It's just proving your place in the sauce. That's all
Of
it is.
course.
You're like I belong here, and I'm real. I'm not Millie and Vanilli.
Well,
That's way
exactly.
before your time, but it's
Well,
before
yes.
my time too.
Yeah. Well, you got to have a presence. You got to show that you're human and you're not just somebody online. That's why I think live shows are really important.
When's the next release for Insanity of Sorrow?
Next release, we'll be releasing an EP. Probably we were thinking really early in September, but it might be late in August. It depends on how I advance the mix. But yes, we have a nice project going on, and we basically have our album written already. So we're working on our second album.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay. Well,
But
there you go.
that's how I do it. I like to do music in advance, kind of like my rap stuff. Usually, when I release music, as I said in the beginning, sometimes it ends up being spontaneous, but often I just have music in the vault where I listen back to it without like a blurry perspective, and I'm like, oh, well, it sounds really good. Might as well drop it, right? So
Yeah. Sure.
yeah,
And O'Leaf is the name, or O'Leaf is the name of
O'Leaf,
your
yes,
O'Leaf is the name of your hip hop project, and people should
yes.
definitely check that out. There's a lot of tracks to check out. XO just came out. Scared
Hmm.
to Die, OMWU. Straight Bot has a lot of love coming to it. I found
Yes.
some very good comments, and you want to see that. Even like any reaction is a good reaction, and
Exactly.
take it and learn from it, like whatever it is, take it and move on. It's just a feather in your cap, but it's
Yes.
always good to get a reaction. So definitely check out Matisse hip hop and check out O'Leaf, but then also make sure you check out Insanity of Sorrow, which is the metal project, and they have their new music video out for their song Chant of Death.
And
That's out today.
.com.
Oh, there it is, folks. I'll put the
Yes.
links below too for you.
Awesome.
And yeah, absolutely. And make sure you get out to see them live. I believe you said August 16th.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's
Cafe
that's
Decaf.
Cafe de Cuff. Yeah,
Yes.
man. It's a installation or whatever. How would you say it? It's an important place in Ottawa in the music scene and has been as long as I've been around. It's
Hmm.
only it's a small room, but it packs a lot of punch.
Yes.
And
The
and it's
sound is great,
definitely
I heard.
it is. It is. And then of course you have another show later on with Power Glove, and that's in
Yes.
September or October.
October 2nd at the Brass Monkey.
October
Yes.
2nd at the Brass Monkey. Oh
Yes.
man, and if you're not at that, that's going to be a party. It's going to get hot and
Hell yeah.
sweaty, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think I'll probably go to that show, give some support,
Awesome.
check out the Power Glove. So that's October 2nd.
Yes, if you want to
And
mosh pit to some Tetris soundtracks metal version. That's the thing with Power Glove. It's super interesting. I can't wait.
it is.
I'll be in the pit as well. So after my show, I'm going there. No
Hell
choice.
yeah.
Too many good talents.
Thank you so much to Matisse Lefebvre, Matty O'Leaf, Matty O'Leff. He
Yes.
is an awesome guy. Let me say thank you so much for coming on today. I'm excited for Insanity of Sorrow. I'm excited for O'Leaf. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Warren. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
And thank you out there for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody.